Um, Over the years, many people have inquired about what types of men I date, what types of guys I like to spend my time with in hopes of building a relationship or building something stable, something authentic. And for me, at this point in my life, beyond the superficial, I look for two things, two essential elements in men. One of them being his confidence, and the other being his independence. And when I say independence, I don't mean him having his own car or having his own job or having his own place to live. Not necessarily. When I say independence, meaning his ability to exist within himself, behind closed doors, or even out in public by himself and alone without feeling lonely. Because that's a quality that lives deep within me. My father raised us to be alone without feeling lonely. And it has saved me in so many different situations I have faced and dealt with and endured in my life. And when it comes to me dealing with other men, I value those who value their own time, their own space, who enjoy spending hours upon hours upon hours by themselves thinking, reading, exercising at the gym, and even for those who do, of course, carve out that time for their friends and their family and their coworkers, which they should. That time that they spend with them, it isn't necessary in order for that individual to feel whole, or to not be bored, or to not feel lonely. Do you know what I mean? And I'll explain why I look for that quality. When you are in a relationship, a romantic relationship, and you build something solid, or you're building what you think is something solid, every relationship has problems. Every couple faces issues, regardless of how long or how little they've been together. Every couple faces issues related to communication, or finances, or sex, or outside entities being involved in the relationship or in the situation. We all face issues. Some couples work through them and stick them out, whereas others immediately get frustrated and throw their hands up and let go. In those situations, especially those situations where relationships are prematurely destroyed or let go, you have to remember that there's going to come a point where the two of you, 8 times out of 10, are going to want to come back together to continue traveling the journey you were traveling before that period of time. And you want a man in your life who is not doing that 2-week breakup, 3-week breakup, a month-long breakup. You want someone, man or woman, who is not going to then retreat to, these online dating networks, just looking for anyone to come over and lay with them, to spend time with them, to stroke their ego in your absence. The worst thing, at least for me it is to know that I was establishing something with someone, building something with someone, and in such a short period of time, in order to try and fill my void during our time apart, however brief, however temporary, that other person goes to try to find someone else to fill that space, because it creates problems on top of what you two are already dealing with. You know what I mean? You still have to then dig through the mess that's been created with the other individual being brought into the picture before you can even deal with the issues that separated and divided the relationship in the first place. You want a man who does not feel the need to always, every single time he's sad or he's going through, that he has to go out into the club, to have his ego brushed by a false sense of attention from strangers. You don't want a man in your life who has to flirt with everyone on their Facebook and their Twitter in your absence in order to make themselves feel better and numb the pain they're dealing with. You want someone in your life who, first of all, is willing to stick through every issue and problem you two face without always retreating to running away. But if you are going to face hardship and the decision is mutually made that we need time apart, you want someone who's not always going to try to fill your void with the presence of just any old face that looks similar to yours and 9 times out of 10 doesn't even bring remotely 50% of what you've brought to the table. And so then you have to ask yourself a question. Because, you know, during that period of time, men had the ability to go out and get another person pregnant, you know, feeling vulnerable and weak. They will allow someone to move in with them. They start doing things and participating in activities and engaging in situations with this other person that they did not engage with alongside you. And you find yourself in a position where you're asking them all these questions. Because most of the time, they're still calling you, you know, when they're facing problems, when things are going wrong in their lives, when they can't make sense of things, they're still calling you because you are their comfort zone. Despite the fact that they're in this other relationship or dealing with this other individual, they're still calling you. And you find yourself asking him questions about his other life and what he's doing. You don't really want to know, but then you do. So you find yourself asking certain questions, and then he's answering. Some of it's true, some of it's not. Some of it's exaggerated, some of it is watered down. But regardless, you're getting information. And you end up receiving information that sometimes you really can't deal with. You cannot accept it. But because you miss him so much, and you love him so much, and you want to be with him so much, when his other situation falls off, you start trying to rebuild what you two had. But somewhere along the lines, emotionally, mentally, you cannot wrap your hands around the decisions he made while the two of you were apart. The things he did with this other individual, the steps they took together as a couple, you feel disrespected. You feel, you know, if this man truly loved me, if he truly cared for me, he wouldn't have moved on so quickly. But you still want to feel your own pain and feel your own void. So you get into this relationship again, but you haven't forgiven him. And what happens is that every single time the two of you get into an argument or discrepancy, you end up pulling all the information he shared with you about his other situation and you throw it in his face. And unfortunately, and as unfair as this may sound, you simply can't do that. It is unfair to make someone constantly pay, verbally or through your actions, for the decisions they made while you two are broken up. Because by you getting back into that relationship, what you are ultimately saying is, I know and understand what you've done, and I forgive you. But if you haven't mentally made peace, if you haven't emotionally created a sense of stability, and if you physically can't even stand being around this man because of the things he did while the two of you were apart, you have not forgiven him and therefore should not be back in a relationship with him. Once you tell someone you forgive them, it is unfair to then bring up those situations that you have forgiven them for and throw them back in their face when you're angry, when you're pissed off, when you're upset. That's not an excuse. And we as human beings have a very tough time accepting that. That's why forgiveness is major. You don't tell someone you forgive if you truly don't. Not for the sake of fulfilling your own pain and your own void just to try and make a relationship work. A relationship romantically, just like a friendship, cannot survive if one or both parties have not forgiven the other for things that have happened in the past. So what I say to those of you who have been involved in relationships, who are presently involved with people where you guys had a breakup or time apart and they went and ignited a new relationship or something with another individual, if you have not accepted that, if you have not moved beyond that, if you have not mentally made peace with that, if you're not emotionally stable with it, if every time you look at him or her you get sick to your stomach or you still feel rage, you should not be in a relationship with them anymore. You cannot throw their indiscretions in their face every single time you get upset or you feel some kind of way. It's not fair to them, and it's not healthy for the relationship. So all I am saying to you, for those of you who exist in these relationships, think about what you are doing. As I posted on my Facebook and my Twitter yesterday, you can love someone without being with that someone. You don't control how you love and who you love, but you do control whether you're with them or not. And that's a decision only you can make. You're the only one that truly knows if you have forgiven and if you're ready to move forward. But if there's any doubt, my advice to you is to wait. These are the type of issues that I will be discussing at zimsays.com, which launches Monday, July 16th. I hope that you all will log on every day to read my post. I hope that you all have already visited the new Zim Says Tumblr to watch my video where I'm discussing the launch of zimsays.com. Follow me on Instagram at Zim Says. Follow me on Twitter, Zim VanAdams. Facebook, Zim VanAdams XVA. And let's continue, ladies and gentlemen, I haven't said this in a while, to conquer the world, one word at a time.